Boom.
All right, guys. Welcome to the broadcast. Tonight it's me and News Now South Florida. Eyes on the State's going to be popping in and out. We got a special guest, Project Hayes. I do believe from Florida. Another one of the predator poachers, the guys that catch predators online. And we're going to ask him some questions and get his view on some of the stuff we went over last week. And then we're going to go ahead and go into some auditor myths. And we've got some news stories too that's been floating around today on the internet. We're going to talk about as well, I believe, at the end. News Now, you got anything you want to say?
No, I'm just looking forward to tonight's chat. I'm happy to see everybody, and let's get it started.
All right, excellent. All right, well, guys, as you know, we've been looking into the.
We launched Project Hayes.
Did Hayes jump out?
Yeah, it dropped. It looked like.
Hopefully he
yeah.
picks back in, but if he picks back in,
Yep, I got him. I got him.
All right,
I got it. There.
All right, great.
Hello. I apologize. I lost connection.
That's all right. So we wanted to talk with you a little bit, Project Hayes, about what it is you're doing out there, how long you've been doing it, and what got you into it, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I would go into detail, most definitely.
All right, well let's start there. What got you into it, and how long you've been doing it, and what exactly, in your words, is it that you're doing?
So what got me into it was that I was inspired by an individual known as Anxiety Ward, aka Zach Swears, and after seeing what he has done, I decided to take things into my own hands within my local community because it's an issue that I feel as if it's rather long ignored. People always talk about, how awful and dangerous sexual predators are, but never the victims and never how they go about it. I mean, if they're always talking about how bad drug dealers are and how they target people, why not expose how predators and potential child sex abusers go about their ways? They always say creeps on the internet, but not how they creep. I expose and demonstrate how they would go about such a thing.
All right. How long do you say you've been doing this?
April 17th of this year, April 17th was the time in which I first made my catch. It was an Egyptian male who wanted to engage in sexual relations with who he thought to be a 14-year-old boy, but in reality, it was me. I confronted him.
Okay. All right. So you've been doing this for a little bit.
Indeed.
It's rewarding work, I'm assured. Getting these guys and exposing them. Have you seen any drawbacks as of late? No one's maced you or done anything crazy, tried to run you over, nothing like that, have they?
No, nothing like that so far.
All right, that's good. I did hear a story about one of the guys was getting hit on by one of the pervs. I guess was a bodybuilder or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's inherently risky. These guys, definitely don't want to get caught. You know,
Indeed,
um,
they go through various measures to ensure that the person that they are speaking to is real. So you have to give them the illusion that of course, the person they're speaking to is real.
Right. So, do they ask for like pictures or anything of that nature of of a undressed
They
variety or?
always do, but I never send. I would never
Well,
send.
right, right. That would be, yeah, that would be akin, I guess, child porn. Um. So, what besides the pictures would be um something that they would ask to verify?
They would always ask for an address, and I'd give a fake one, and not even just give them a fake one. I just give them the general area of where I would live in, so that way they could have an idea of where I'm at, and
Hmm.
they would also ask for a Snapchat account, an Instagram account, or whatever to ensure that the person they're speaking to is real. But of course, I would never give them that information because, of course, having a Instagram account and a Snapchat account would have options in which they could see where you're located at. And if I'm gonna give them my personal Instagram account, I'm not gonna risk having, let's say, posting a, excuse me.
Hmm.
I heard a knock at the door and needed to hold on.
Guys, can everybody see the stream? Because I couldn't see the stream on my
Yeah,
computer.
I'm watching it on my
Okay.
second screen right next to me.
I can see it on my phone, but I'm the only one that's
All right.
currently on the stream. Everyone else is just an icon.
Yes.
My
I like being an icon.
apologies.
No, that's cool.
My apologies, my
I'm an
good
I'm sorry for the
icon.
sirs.
crackling noise. If anyone's wondering where it's coming from, it's me and my phone, and I have no idea why that happens, but my phone makes a crackling noise on every live stream. So I apologize in advance.
Anyways, I just avoid using social media accounts when it comes to doing catches because they would notice that if I were to make a dedicated account for a decoy, there wouldn't be that many followers, there wouldn't be that many selfies. It would be demanding. I would much rather focus solely on catching them and using at least one app that they are using to prey on minors, be it Scout, Meet Me, or Grinder, Adam for Adam. It's a way to keep them under control, keep them contained.
So
Right.
I've got a quick
Absolutely.
question for you, Mr. Hayes, if I may.
Yeah.
Um, this is kind of new to me. I know that the Bolt Action News Group channel is interested in getting involved in a way to help out in this cause. Um, could you run us through kind of a brief timeline, like from inception of a fake account to uh, contact slash meeting up with a possible predator? Like, what kind of timelines are we talking about? Is this? I've watched a couple of videos. I've seen that sometimes it's pretty quick. Sometimes it's a long, arduous process. Give us kind of an average rundown of what happens.
What happens is that I would open up a fake account on either Scout or Meet Me. Scout and Meet Me are both apps that have similar purposes. It's to meet people within your general area. Scout is more focused towards dating, whereas Meet Me is more focused towards casual hangouts and whatever. So I would pose as a minor, but the pictures that I use are that of an actual adult. And it's a way to decrease liability because I would not want to use an actual photo of a minor because, knowing how these guys are, they're gonna be thinking that, oh my god, it's a minor, and no, it's really a fucking adult. So one thing I do is that I would wait until they message first. If I were to message them first, it basically throws out the case that is built against them. Because by messaging them first, that would be seen as enticement. So instead, I wait for them to message me. Once they message me, I let them know within the first 5 texts that I am underage. And once I let them know that, there is going to be two ways that's going to go down. They're either going to ignore it and block me, or they're going to go along with it and see where this goes on from here. And once they go along with it, they're gonna see, how if they're gonna see if I am real or not. And this requires a lot of hoop jumping. They're gonna demand selfies of the decoy at the moment, selfies of the decoy holding peace signs or whatever, and they're gonna demand certain things that I may not exactly be able to do. So I could give them an excuse. I could tell them that my parents are crazy and the walls are thin. I can't just do a call. Things like that. Gotta put them through the work to let them know that, hey, my parents are crazy and all that stuff. You gotta not abide by what their demands are, because if I did everything that they said, um, I would be exposed. So I have to deny some of the requests they'd make.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All
Um,
right.
I'll
Go
say,
ahead.
okay, so now you've brought us, Mr. Hayes, if I may continue. So now you've brought us to a point where you've tricked the predator. You've convinced the predator that you're, this underage person that they may be interested in preying upon. And I apologize. I haven't ever watched anything on your channel. I apologize now. I haven't. So if I'm a brand new person, what am I going to see on your channel? Am I going to see you bringing this to a parking lot somewhere and confronting somebody? Am I going to see you um, getting law enforcement involved? Like, so bring me now to the next phase. So now you brought them there. What's the next phase?
well, the next phase is that I would try to meet them in either a public location or near an area in which they wouldn't be able to scout and see where the miner could be at. A public area would be a grocery store, so that way um, they'd feel comfortable knowing that, okay, I'm gonna find this person who I'm gonna be engaging in illegal cheap collecting, or if I were to meet them in an area in which they couldn't be able to scout out, I'm I know where to expect. I know how they're gonna get there and all that. And when I confront them, I would pull out my phone and I would call them out, ask them questions, tell them that I'm here to talk to them, I'm not gonna hurt them, and that I wanted to gain answers from them as to why they're here.
Okay. As to why they're there to meet an underage kid, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, we definitely are interested in this topic, and we believe, at least I think that it's something that needs to be practiced more, because there's a lot of predators out there. There's a lot of people that haven't been caught yet, and yeah, there's Predator Poacher Central Florida there. So yeah, we're definitely supporters of the movie that you guys got going on, and we'd like to, showcase you guys sometimes, and maybe even do something like I don't know, like a catch of the week, like a perv of the week, something, like a type deal.
That
The greatest takedown of the week or something, to help highlight it, because I think more people need to get involved in this activity. I mean, it's something that anybody could do in your local community. I know we was talking to Central Florida Predators Poachers. We know it's mentally taxing, so there's got to be some guy or some person, in the area that's got, you know, got the, you know, strength, I guess, to go through with that. I know it's got to be taxing on you. Hear some of the stuff these guys say, supposedly underage kids. I know it upset me.
yeah, there are moments in
So,
which
but
when I do my
What's up, y'all?
catches, there are moments in which whenever I work on my catches, I'd feel so drained and angry because like I just think to myself, oh my god, this is what these guys wanted. That's what they really want. I mean, they're saying some of the most depraved and decrepit um words that you would not want a actual child to hear, let alone told to them. And these people, they have families, they have grown friends, they have like a wife or girlfriend, they have a reputation to guard and a secret to keep. So when I come and meet them, all bets are off. If anything happens to me, I'll do everything I can to defend myself. And if anything happens to them, like them being exposed, they're gonna go through high emotions, things that would make them look horrible, or just them freezing at the moment, or just whatever, really.
yeah. Now I gotta ask: has anybody ever offered to pay you off to not publish
No,
their story?
no.
No. All right, because I'm wondering if that's got to be in there somewhere. There's got to be a rich guy in there somewhere that thinks money's gonna buy him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think that might be something. If you keep on with it, I think that might be something in the future that'll pop up. I'm sure it's human nature. Just
yeah, it's bribery.
Yep, yep. So it's
Yeah,
it's
I
old.
think
It's old
you could
as
probably
prostitution.
they could get you for blackmail then after that,
Yeah, I wouldn't accept the money at all because I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because you got to you got to do what's needed to be done. If you can help someone, you can help anyone. And in this case, I'm helping out victims.
Yeah. Well, I just got here. I want to tell you thank you
Yeah.
for what you do. I also am like News Now South Florida. I haven't watched your channel, but I promise I will. I'll check it out. But thanks.
Hey, you're welcome for the compliments, my guys.
Yes, I
Are you?
promise I will watch your channel as well. I apologize. I was ill prepared for tonight, but I really appreciate you
Well,
walking me through kind of the process that you do. That's valuable for me and the viewers to kind of hear your whole process from start to end. So I appreciate you walking us through that. I know some of what you do has to kind of be on the down low because you don't want people to catch on to who you are, and I get that.
Yeah, for sure.
Good question, Oli D. Were you or someone you know a victim? Is that what made you decide to do this?
That's one of the big reasons as to why I decided to do what I do. I was never a victim of sexual assault. I mean, I was assaulted when I was younger in school by a bunch of kids, but anything sexual, no. But the feeling of helplessness, the feeling of being helpless, the feeling of having nobody to get your your pain being validated by law enforcement or whatever, because there wasn't anything they can do about it. It's an awful feeling, but I've gotten over it years ago. But I've known close friends of mine who were sexually assaulted when they were children, and the pain that they have never goes away. It's like a scar etched within their mind. And so that's another reason as to why I do what I do. And many of them appreciate what I do. They're very thankful about it.
Now they come in all shapes and sizes. These people, like, do you see any predominant race or age that you've run into?
I mean, I only done 8 catches so far, but with what I've seen from other catches, like from predator poachers, anxiety war, CC unit, they do what I do, but they're far bigger than me. They've got more catches than me. I appreciate them for what they do out in San Diego, California. They, from what I've seen of other catches, they mainly consist of white men who are like in their and who are middle ages or at least within their 20s. So there's that.
Yeah, that's what most of the statistics say. I just wanted to know your experience, but I mean that doesn't put past anybody else, though.
Hold up.
Are we good?
Yeah, I'm here. What up,
Okay.
Rogue? What up,
How you
News
doing,
Now,
Ray?
South
It's good to
Florida?
see you, buddy. Good to
You too,
see you.
man.
All right.
What's
Does
up, Eyes?
anybody on the panel or in the chat have any questions for Project Hayes?
I gotta go.
All right,
Okay.
Project
Well,
Hayes.
Could I be able to return to the podcast later?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
absolutely. Yeah, just use the same link. All right, guys. So that was Project Hayes out of Florida. Another predator catcher like Predator Poacher Central Florida we had on last week. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about auditing myths. Um, stuff I see come up a lot in the community. One of the things is that you have to get arrested or such and such in order to have your rights violated. And one of the things that I got from talking with Jeff Gray and from talking with my lawyer and just looking at the law in general is to try to stay away from those kind of interactions because of a number of reasons. One is the wasted time and money spent on fighting false charges. Okay. That's if you believe that the judicial system can be trusted. If you think the judicial system is ran by tyrants, then you're up against the fact that you might not actually get the charges dropped. As
Yeah,
we
I
all,
didn't do anything wrong, and I got away by the skin of my teeth.
right, right, exactly. So, a lot of auditors have pled out to, to different charges. I'm not going to run through the list of names, but everybody knows that some of these auditors have caught charges that have stuck. And in that case, there is no lawsuit. So I find it always best to go with the least amount of resistance, the path of least resistance. They're always going to detain you. They're always going to try to force you to ID. When we get down to the technical aspects of it, when you got more than 3 guys there, you're entered into what's called a non-custodial interview, which is again not supposed to happen. But also you're looking at intimidation. Whenever there's 3 to 5 officers around you and they're armed, you're intimidated. That's all you need to say. You're intimidated. These guys were, all on you. You thought they were going to go hands on. You feared for your life, Your Honor. And these guys conspired to violate your rights. And then you just, you file a small lawsuit against them. We need this. This is the kind of activism we need, because otherwise we're just going to spend a lot of time in jail and fighting false charges and spending a lot of our money on lawyers, and again, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for change, and we're looking for not just us, the couple of us that are out there, but everybody that watches now is more in tune with what their rights are, and also looking at the paperwork we file, what the stuff you could find online. You're more in tune with your own rights violations to your government, and I encourage everybody to do that. And when you look at it, we don't even have to win these lawsuits. If enough of us put in lawsuits that's clogging up the system, they're going to realize there needs to be change. We don't even have to win these suits. I mean, we could just bankrupt them just by filing them and them having to pay lawyers to fight it. So, I mean, this is something that's doable by, as long as there's evidence. As long as there's evidence, we got to remember that we need to record at all times. We got to have our record, whatever device it is, be it your camera, be it your phone, be it your dash cam. Have these things ready to go at a moment's notice. And
Hi, Denise.
and record button. Go ahead, Wrights. You said something?
No.
Yeah, hit those record buttons, guys, and get that evidence. We'll be happy to broadcast anything rights violations oriented here at B.A.N.G, and we'll be happy to help seek redress for those rights violations that you have. But we need evidence. You need evidence. We can't do hearsay. But if you got evidence of such, we're willing to help and make sure that these guys are held accountable. But it's going to take a lot of us. A couple lawsuits here and there for me, it's not really going to do much to them. But like I said, when you start hitting them left and right, shit's going to change. If one officer gets 10 to 20 lawsuits on him, every year, he's going to be looking for a new line of work. They're not going to put up with that, no matter if it's the city paying or not. That's a big liability for them.
Yes.
So we get
to give you guys a real life example of this, Rogue Nation, you put a lawsuit in on Corporal Matos here in Arcadia, Florida, DeSoto County, Arcadia Police Department. He's not a sheriff's department, he's a police department. And not only did he pay out of his own pocket a settlement to you, he also, and I need to do some research to find out for sure, but the last time I caught him on video, he had no corporal stripes on his sleeve. So that means either A, he was double promoted past sergeant into lieutenant, which doesn't make any sense, or B, which is more likely, he was demoted back down to officer Matos. So that's a real life example of us not going to jail and collecting enough evidence for the town or city or county to demote an officer.
Excuse me. Let's dispel this myth right here once and for all. Stolen valor. Gil Candy. You watched a video from a scumbag that shows my military record. It showed that I earned that title. And you still think it's stolen valor because you don't understand what that means. no witty catchphrase of, oh, he didn't serve, they served him, is ever going to take away what I did. No freedom-hating troll is going to discredit me. And I will continue claiming the title that I earned. And anyone who served in my beloved Corps that has a problem with that, look at who you're listening to. And that's the thing you're hitching your wagon to. Look at you. That's all I have to say about that.
Not only that, but stolen valor is a term to correct me if I'm wrong. It's a term to show somebody that claimed to be in an important position that they never were in, or an important battle, or an important place. You know, Rice Krispie was a Marine. He was a Marine for 1.5 years until he was discharged, and that's the bottom line.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and I went to the brig too.
And he went to the brig.
Yeah, no doubt.
I wouldn't imagine you'd be a good Marine if you hadn't.
That's what Peter O'Keefe says. But,
yeah.
I mean, have at it. If you want to keep jumping on that stupid idiot's bandwagon, I mean, look at him. If we're actually going to deflect, look at him, man. I don't have any evidence of what he did because I don't obsess. You look it up. You do the legwork. That's it. You're so ready to jump on me, but you're not. It's easier to fool someone than convince them they've been fooled.
You're muted, News Now.
Well, they're just time robbers anyway. They're trying to distract us from out there, practicing our constitutional rights and doing our duties as citizens to make sure the government is, being held accountable. As such, we've got 2 stories tonight that we want to talk about. One is the Polk County video.
Yeah.
That's been going around Facebook. And I had a scriber send it to me, as well as the Glady auditor sent it out as well. And shows a young man in handcuffs getting hit a couple of times in the face by an officer. Now, seems to me pretty much police brutality. Obviously, the man was in handcuffs. I do believe the officer, the story is that he spit, perhaps. But that's
he wasn't. He wasn't even looking at them. He had his face away from them when he was getting punched. So that was a delayed reaction by the cop to punch him if he spit earlier or whatever. It's a bullshit cop-splaining excuse that Sheriff Grady Judd said.
Give me just a second. I'm trying to pull the video up now. It's just I got to get it, and I'm still trying to finish. So give me a second. I'll have it.
You're fine, Ice. Yeah, here's the thing, though, right? Even if the guy did spit on him, let's say he did, okay, just to play devil's advocate here. Let's say the guy did spit on the officer. That's a charge in and of itself. The cop at no point in time should become the judge and met out punishment in the form of violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you spit on me. I got to be able to take that. That's part of the job description. You know what I mean? That's just like if you're working in mental health, guess what? You're going to get spit on, bud. You know what I mean? So, it's unfortunate that it happens, but in no way, shape, or form does that allow the officer to batter a handcuffed suspect. Looks like we got the video up.
Yeah, they was already sitting around the corner. Look, they all right there. Oh no, they can fight it. I knew it. I fucking knew it. Bro, don't kill that man, bro.
They just skipped to the spitting part. They didn't originally say why he was being arrested. He was watching a fight. He wasn't in the fight, even though they said that he was in the first fight of 3 fights.
The full video is here, but I just wasn't going to play the full video that shows all of that. So give me a minute. Let's run through this, and then we'll show that.
Yeah, we don't. I've seen. We've all seen the fights. We don't need to see them.
Bro, they finna fuck you up, bro. Stop. I got you. Bro, you hitting this man, bro. That's fucked up. Hey, shut up, shut up. I got it all on camera.
Right there, bam. See, he wasn't even looking at him. It was a sucker punch. And there's another one.
Yeah, he's inside the cruiser with him. He's adjusting him with his elbow. He's I'm telling you, he's adjusting his chin with his elbow right there, right now. I guarantee it. We can't see it.
The pain compliance technique.
Yeah, he's readjusting his chin with his elbow while he straps him in. I've been there myself. So they like to really help you get into the car. Oh, we got GA in here. I didn't see that. How you doing, GA?
What's up, bro?
Doing good. Just
the man behind the enemy lines that we were just exposing. We were looking at your sheriff's deputies out there.
The arrest affidavit mentions nothing about him striking the subject either. And then, Grady Judd pretty much just solidified that, if it had happened to him and he would have got spit on, that guy should have expected to get hit too. So, real tough guy he is.
Yeah, and again, when he breezed quickly past the reason why the man was being arrested, it was just that he was involved as a spectator, but he was in the first fight, and then they were telling him to cooperate, but he refused to cooperate, and he resisted arrest. He just jumped right into the arrest. What's he being arrested for? He didn't do anything. You didn't see him doing anything, and going by hearsay and you're arresting somebody, that's, of course, he's going to fight back. You're allowed to fight back from an unlawful arrest. I don't suggest you do it, though. I suggest you pray that the system
I read an affidavit the other day, today, that where like some girl's ex-boyfriend broke her window out, but she was the victim and the witness. So, I mean, doesn't that seem like they could have just made that up, and then the cops got called there? Like, there was like no evidence of him breaking the window other than her saying that he broke the window. It's just crazy how they can put you in jail with so little.
Yeah, I mean that would be, I would think, would be considered maybe hearsay. To take someone at their word like that. I mean, it definitely could show favoritism. But I think the same thing happened to James McLennis in his story about how he got tangled up in the web of law enforcement corruption.
Yeah, and then the more officers they get out there, the easier it is for them to corroborate a story. Because I actually had to look over that affidavit again, because I was like, but there's nothing in here that shows that he was the one that broke the window. And then I looked over it again, and it said victim/witness for the same person. So, yeah.
It would be nice if some of these people could reach out and talk to us so we could find out if they've got some actual legal help looking into stuff like that, because a lot of times, even with, a competent lawyer, they'll miss stuff. So it's always good to help out wherever you can, if you can look up some statutes or look up some case law. Yeah.
I guess fairly recently, I don't think it was necessarily behind that incident, there was a petition started for Polk County sheriffs to, I guess, to push for them to utilize cameras or audio recording, so that yeah, I mean, these reports, man. I mean, I read them just to get a side of the story, but it just half the time it doesn't really say much. It's it's one person's version.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even the right version they put down on paper, you know?
Right.
So there was just a question too about our other discussion that David Doty asked about Indy.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be blowing up from what I'm hearing from eyes on the state. I haven't really had a chance to look at it, and I took off from Indiana on Monday. I was out of the state by Monday night, so this happened all after I left, or I would have stopped down in Indy and seen what was going on. But we do have some friends up there. Hoosier News Now is up in that area, so I'm going to find out from him if he's going to cover it. But it seems pretty intense. Couple of people killed within a couple of hours up there. A pregnant lady ran over, and a guy shot doing a live stream. Who knows about this?
I do not.
Oh, you guys haven't heard? Here's the mainstream media news on it right now, and this is the 17:49 this evening. So what? 5, right? Yeah, 5.
Yeah, almost 6.
Yep. So there's protests going on all over. Let me see if I can zoom this in. Nope, not that one. Hang on. Let me see if I can zoom this in for everybody so that they can see it. Ooh, too much probably. There. I think that should be okay for everybody. There's protests going on all over Indianapolis today. They fatally shot 2 men, and then they killed the pregnant pedestrian all in separate instances.
Oh my God.
What happened. Yep. So I'll give everybody a chance to read this. I don't know if they want to or not completely, but it looks like I haven't completely gotten all the information on the pregnant woman that was hit and killed. But he was driving to work, is what they're saying, and he struck her with his vehicle along the side of an expressway ramp. And then
the unborn baby didn't make it?
No, neither made it. They were both killed, and I believe they were killed on the scene. I don't think that they even made it to the hospital before that happened.
So that's 4 people, not 3.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
That's what it should be counted as. And then the first shooting that they're talking about right here in this next paragraph that was live streamed on Facebook. It was. And I didn't even know that a detective, it looks like, was on the stream commenting on it also. I don't completely know the events surrounding the pursuit and then the later shooting. I don't know if the gentleman that they shot had weapons that they pulled and were shooting at them with, but it seems to be that they emptied their clips into the car for no apparent justification at all, from what I'm gathering of this incident. So I don't know if you guys can find anything else or if you guys know anything else on it. Other than that, at this point, if you want me to keep looking, we can pull more information up. But that's what I have at this point.
There was another guy being detained, getting beat down in LA. I put it in my community post if you want to share that. Did you guys, anybody else see that one?
No, I didn't get a look at that.
I just saw it today. I get really tired of seeing like all these cops that seem to like you saw it in the Polk County scene, and so many other scenes where it's like they've been waiting for this time.
They're taking out their aggression. They're taking out their aggression. Yeah. You could clearly see that's their body language. They're not trying to apply pain compliance. They're really like pissed off at whatever they're pissed off at. I don't know. Can't make sense out of senseless, but it is just a venting horrible thing. Here we go. Yeah. Look at this cop. He's so mad. No, he's hugging him. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys got the message from the B.A.N.G messenger that I screenshotted and sent y'all, but wasn't it Plant City where you were with John Felix, Breaks Crispy?
Plant City, that's right. MK Ultra, that's right. Got no dukes.
Yeah, somebody said they want to see us back out there. At
Oh, I
Plant
got that
City
email
City
too.
Hall. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Plant
did
City
a
does need more attention.
audit out there at the city hall, and I'm pretty sure they passed. It might be on American Freedom, or I might not have put it up yet. But this was just a couple of weeks before the Strawberry Festival.
Right.
But they seemed halfway decent. But again, that doesn't mean anything. I only saw a couple of people that day, so a revisit's always in order.
Yeah, I had a big problem with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputy out there.
Qualified immunity going in front of the Supreme Court. I did hear something about it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked into it much myself. I don't know if I don't know what to say. It'll be interesting if they get it taken away, but I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. Because then a lot of cops I think wouldn't want to be cops anymore. Because they'd actually be liable for their actions. I guess it's sort of like the doctors with the medical malpractice insurance, because there were so many making mistakes, and now the insurance is so high, a lot of people, don't want to be doctors anymore because, a lot of your money's going out for insurance because of all the mistakes, everybody's made before in the past. It's kind of left a bad taste in people's mouths.
Hey, what about that Supreme Court case that you had shared, Eyes, where they were talking about retaliating against nonviolent protesters? I never got a chance to read it, so.
That wasn't a Supreme Court case. I think that was a law that they were passing in Arizona. Several laws actually that they were passing. I think, isn't it that one?
I didn't get a chance to read it. I downloaded the PDF, but that's the one that I was talking about. Where it was a news story that basically said something about letting police retaliate. The verbiage they used was wrong. They shouldn't have used retaliate. Maybe use force or enforce or something like that. But I never got a chance to actually read the paperwork that went with it.
I'd have to go back over it again to refresh my memory on it to make sure that I was correct on the information that I was sharing. But I do know that they have passed several laws in states, particularly Arizona, against groups that are protesting, people that are filming things. It seems to be that's what you're discussing, is how that they're going to try and arrest people for disorderly conduct and stuff when they're not doing anything wrong except expressing their rights.
Yeah, I think the key is just being able to articulate what you're doing and getting it on camera and getting that evidence. It's all I swear it's all about the evidence. because otherwise, we're fighting an uphill battle. Okay, because the way the system's set up is, the officer is a employee of the state, and as such, he wouldn't lie, type of deal is what they've got going on. So automatically, when we go into the courtroom and we're facing office against an officer, his word holds more weight in the courtroom in front of the judge than ours does. And it doesn't matter what status in life you are. You can be, the lowly janitor up to the plastic surgeon, and then if you're not willing to buy your way out of it, then that's the kind of justice you're going to face. So.
Hey, G8, can you clear something up? You were talking about the masks and the law and how it's
Yeah. And they just wrote an article about it too. I think I shared it with you guys, but in Florida, they have all these statutes that have to do with not being able to wear a mask in public, but there's an applicability statute at the end of it that basically says as long as you're not trying to intimidate somebody, you're not, in the process of committing a crime, you can wear masks in public.
So when we audit, we could keep wearing masks regardless of the.
Oh, I think they asked for it at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I keep getting so many comments saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you folded and wore a mask. I can't believe you're telling those cops the 6-foot rule. Stop being so scared." I'm like, Motherflower, you think I'm scared? I'm wearing a mask because I can with no hassle, and I'm telling a cop to step back 6 feet because I can with no hassle. Who's gonna pass up that opportunity?
Here's the problem that I have, and it's, there's a lot of people that won't be able to go back to work unless they comply with the fact that they have to wear a mask, some places gloves. But the people that are getting paid by the public, and most of those jobs that I'm speaking of are people that deal with the public in close proximity, like in stores, restaurants, and stuff like that. But the cops do as well, and a lot of public employees also do, and they're not setting any kind of an example. Like why we have to, it can't be voluntary for anybody else, but it seems to be voluntary for them.
Yeah, Mr. Rasser says if you go armed here with a mask, it's a felony. If you have a gun in the car and wearing a mask, you're committing a felony. Here in Illinois, that's the law.
Yep, good old Illinois. There was a question right before his. It was up on the screen. I didn't get a chance to read it all.
Can I post a link to? Yeah, post whatever link to smaller channels, of course. MK Ultra should face it. What is it about?
Right here. Yeah, this is the question. Hang on. Fawn said, with all the audits going on for quite some time and the community is still doing it, don't you think it's like shoveling shit into the wind? And that's, that's a good question. And what we need to do is we need to look at areas that this has been going on for a while, and seeing the people that's been bringing the results and the people that haven't been bringing the results, because that's a very good question, and it's one that I use to judge my effectiveness, is how much under control is an area now compared to a year or two ago. And with my revisits, I think it's imperative that an auditor that's out there for accountability goes back to these places, even places that have passed before. You need to go back and revisit them, because at any given moment, you're only seeing maybe 10 to 20% of the workforce that's there. So you want to go back, you want to, see other people that work there, and you want to, let everybody know that, the citizens are tired, and we want to see change. We want to see, you know, uh, I guess a pep in their step and a smile on their face. You know what I mean? Just like you would if you had to work for the private industry. Uh,
Or
I'm
like you
tired
see
of
in our
seeing all these.
past videos, we have plenty of past videos where they do the right thing. We want to see more of that.
Well, right, and it's unfortunately the majority is the old frumpy, you know, people that are obviously just lazy daisying it away. They say a lot about tape. That's why stuff takes so long, but nobody ever thinks, hey, maybe it takes so long because these people aren't motivated in any way in order to provide the service. Because they're not on a time frame. When they get to it, they get to it. Um, I think a lot of that wait time is just their mode of work. I guess you could
Yeah.
say, because to be quite honest, you can't fire those people in a lot of government jobs because they're unionized, and all
They,
this other.
I get paid by the hour.
Yeah, and as far as what we're doing, being shoveling shit in the wind, even if it is ultimately, which it's not, it's better than sitting on our hands,
Right.
just taking it.
It'll land somewhere. And if enough of it lands, it'll make a big mess.
Listen, just
Welcome back, Project
being
Cave.
out here, people are gonna. Yeah, just being out here, people are gonna see what's going on, and they'll start responding to us and giving us tips and sending us stories and stuff like that, and we'll be able to get it going.
Yeah, we got a place in mind that was pretty bad on the first visit, but I'm pretty confident the revisit might be different. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there's some places that we got to get to when I'm already back in town, so I think next week we'll be going out and seeing some spots. I noticed that the DMVs down here have appointments only. Uh, so it's not going to be able to get in and see those places. Sometimes they set up restrictions, and part of auditing is knowing the law, yourself, and knowing what lines you can cross and what lines you can't cross, and when they cross the line. And what I try to illustrate is that we don't have to get into these elaborate arrests and beat downs and taserings to affect change, or to have a way to redress those claims. Anytime a person is detained unlawfully, I mean, that's a claim. That's a claim that you can put in, and it might not be the strongest claim, but it's going to be enough to have them spend some money to fight it. And again, we don't have to win these cases. If we put in enough cases, they're going to be overwhelmed just responding to all of them. You know what I mean? It really is powerful. Uh, so
Oh,
we got to be able to have the knowledge when we're out there gathering the evidence, to know when we've got that evidence, and then to move on. Um, a lot of people will he and haw and moan about it, because a lot of people out there for entertainment. They're out there for entertainment. Just like Fawn's question brought out, it's not like shoving shit into the wind. And for a lot of these out there doing it, that's exactly what it is. It's only for clicks and views. And you know that because they never, ever go back to these places where these tyrants were and do a revisit. That's one of the things I never ever saw on a lot of these audits, was these guys going back to these places where these guys were tyrants, and these guys, being accepted to come in with their camera. So, I mean, you know, if people are able to see change, then recognize change. People trying to accomplish it, and if you don't want, the First Amendment used for, people not using it for change, then don't watch videos of people that obviously are only in it for clicks and views. You know, when I hear an auditor say on their video that they're never going to go back there because the service is so bad, I want to choke myself because I'm associated with this person just by the job that I'm doing. I don't really want to choke myself because it's such
You're
bad
cutting in and out, Captain.
I said, because if it's such bad service, you want to be there, every week. You want to, until those people accept what you're doing. Um, that's the job. The job isn't to go out there and find tyrants and have them beat you up, and then you just go on to the next place and get beat up again. That's something that Ian did down there in Charlotte County. And
Excuse me.
go ahead.
What do you mean by tyrants? I'm sorry for my long absence and unexpected errand had came my way.
Someone who uses the color of law to act in an arbitrary manner and imposing their whim and will instead of the law.
So you mean corrupt police officers?
Yes,
Pretty
and
much.
politicians.
Oh, I've
It's
seen
not just
videos
police.
like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of people in public service. You'd be surprised how many people want to boss other people around and tell them what they can and can't do, and just treat people like crap. I tell people, if they look on the Google Maps, and if you look up your local government institutions, the DMV, just the local government, police departments, whatever, you'll notice that there's a low review for them and a lot of bad reviews left on their page because of the lack of service you get there. And you compare that to the private sector where they're all got 4 and 5 stars and, glowing reviews, because with the government, nobody chooses to go to them for services. You're forced into it by whatever district you live in, be it Orlando or, you live in Orlando, say, and you got Orlando Utilities. So you got to go to Orlando Utilities. There's no other service in the area. So they can pretty much charge you what they want and treat you how they want. And you got to eat it, come in with a smile. Because if you don't eat their shit, they'll cut your shit off or they'll charge you extra fees, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's horror stories all over the nation of instances where, people have been, not abused, but beating them, but abused in a way like
Yeah,
behind the doors.
yeah, I understand it's better to keep things privatized instead of it government mandated, because if we're having it be government mandated, then there's a high risk of nepotism and cronyism going around alongside with, as you said, people power tripping and using that power to fulfill their ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the comment there from George, and George, yeah, the complaint process, while not always working per se in our favor, if you get enough complaints on an officer, that does affect their work, and as it should. Now, we can't guarantee that happens 100% of the cases. Um, but you get a new sheriff elected, and he goes through and he reviews these files, and he sees one idiot, and he's got a whole bunch of complaints on him, maybe a couple of lawsuits, and he might think about trimming that deputy off. So I don't want to say it's definitely going to help in every case, but I don't think it's going to hurt in any other case. I mean, unless you're a wanted criminal. Because in a lot of the complaints you have to put your name on it, so they can contact you and that kind of stuff. So I mean, unless you got a warrant out for you, I wouldn't suggest filing a complaint. But if you don't have a warrant, I say go for it. And here's the thing, especially if you're going to do it in the area you live in, you got to be ready for retaliation. You got to be like Doc Holliday with his guns. You got to be that quick with your camera. You know what I mean? You got to be on the draw, buddy. Because retaliation, if you're doing it in the area where you live, getting complaint forms and looking pulling records, you got to be ready because chances are they won't like it. Uh, that means more than just not providing you service. That maybe means pulling you over extra amount of times because you dare question them. Um, we had an incident in Orange County years ago where the sheriff was caught taking someone's personal address, cut him off or something on the freeway, and he had looked up the personal address of her ex-girlfriend or something. There was a story a couple years back. I don't remember the exact details of it, but these people are vengeful. There was a story that we all probably remember. It was the deputy down there, southern Florida, that pulled over that other cop doing like 120, and she was a female, and she got all kinds of lawsuits because all these cops from all over were looking up her personal information and sending her death threats and just nasty emails and whatever else because that's that brotherhood, that gang mentality.
Have you worked with police, Project Hayes? Have you had
No,
any? Nothing. So
I
none
only
of
when
them
it
reached out
comes.
to try to help you either.
So basically, each time I do my catch, I would report to the cyber tip line in order to report each person that I would catch, and so far nobody who I caught has gotten arrested, and I think it has to do with the fact that a lot of police resources are now dealing with coronavirus, and they don't really, you know, take mind to predators, just drug dealers and domestic abusers, people like that.
This day and age.
Yeah, it sucks, but it's okay. I exposed them.
Yep, that's the best we can hope for.
There was an incident in which the second person that I caught tried to start a physical altercation with me. So his name was Woodrow. He was an older male. I believed he was in his mid-50s. And Woodrow, when I confronted him, it was right in front of a Publix, and I confronted
It's a
him
local
from.
supermarket.
For sure, it's the most Florida thing one could imagine. And I confronted him from behind, and he kept on denying it, and there are moments in which he tried to walk to me and try to put his hands on me. And I told him, no, I yelled at him. Actually, I yelled at him, telling him to step back and to keep his hands away from me. And he went from being demanding to becoming a whimpering little puppy.
See, that's the worst case scenario is when they either want to harm you or themselves, right?
Yeah, that I do not want any of these predators to harm themselves, because if they were to harm themselves, that would create an issue, because if they were to harm themselves, that would mean me getting involved with them and me having to like deal with the consequences because that would mean my actions have led to their self-harm. So I would tell them, don't do anything stupid, don't hurt me, don't hurt yourself, things like that.
It's a dangerous thing, but yeah, I mean, you're very brave to get into that, and
Thank you.
thank you again, because I have kids, and I know Predator Poacher Central Florida said if they're gonna hurt somebody, I'd rather it be me than a kid, because that'll expose them as doing
Yeah,
that.
I understand. It's important to protect children and to protect the minds of children because children and teenagers, they don't know what they're doing at such a young age. Because even if they're exposed to sex and pornography at a young age, they don't fully understand the repercussions of engaging in such a thing. It's why it's important to educate children, educate teens, and let them know the dangers of predators and teach them how predators come after minors and whatnot. And another thing to keep in mind is that anybody could be a predator, but at the same time, you don't know who is who is a predator until it's too late. So it's always good to keep a watchful eye. Um,
You could
other
have
than
backup too.
backup, well, I don't have backup because that creates liability. I prefer to do things on my own, so that way everything that's just gonna happen to me will only happen to me and not someone else. Plus, I don't have to deal with any fear of people backing out. Like, if I'm going in on my own, I'm going in on my own.
I wanted to get to what Fawn said there and um, what Eyes on was saying about Earl. I'm not a particular supporter. Um, it's been labeled that he's had some stuff done in the past, and so I don't associate with him. Um, and that's just my take on the matter myself. I'm not speaking for anybody else, but um,
I've already said I wouldn't work with him either, and I'm not gonna disparage him either.
right, exactly. I let the courts and all that stuff do the judging, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna become involved with them because I decide to let the courts do the judging. I'm just gonna stay away from all that because it's drama in and of itself, and I don't need to be included into that. A lot of us don't work with a lot of different people. You'll notice a lot of us here work together, and we'll work with other people here and there, and we do that just out of camaraderie for the first time. I mean that they're going to be coming to our house, Flapjack, and we're going to be going on camping trips with them in the Smokies. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had to say about that. Now, Lion One said, "Are your federal lawsuits pro se or with a lawyer?" And my unlawful arrests are all done through Vince at megajustice.com. He does all my unlawful arrests, all my other lawsuits, just for the unlawful payments and the Fourth Amendment violation cases. They're being done by me. One of the reasons is I need more practice in a courtroom like setting. I need more practice writing motions and stuff of that nature. I've studied law for quite some time. Uh, One part that I am sorely lacking in, and it takes a good person to know that he's sorely lacking, but is civil procedure, and that is the the method in which the case is prosecuted and some of the motions and stuff like that. So I got a lot of reading material, and I'm trying to keep up with it, and trying to make sure I get a good fight for my money, I guess you could say. But each one I just get better, and I look forward to filing as many as it takes, as many as I can get support for. It's not something that I can do all by myself after a while, but I got some good subscribers. Gentleman Tom, he's a godsend. He's helping a couple of them, and
Yeah, your mic's cutting in and out, Captain.
we're
Beach
looking.
Audits, it's megajustice.com. Vince Pawlowski Mastrelli Law Group. But go to megajustice.com, you'll find him there. It was just, I don't know, the mic was cutting in and out also.
On me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that.
That's better.
Yeah, a lot of people have gone to events and have gotten a good rapport going with him. He's a great guy. I actually got emailed another guy up in Maryland. So if any of my subscribers are up in Maryland or need any legal help up in Maryland, I have a gentleman and supporter, and it'd be nice to give him a call if you have any issues. These are the kinds of people we need to support. It's people that support us, people that support the right to be free and to question our government, because that's what it is. That's what First Amendment auditing is all about, is questioning government. And you don't. And the funny thing is you don't even have to question them. You could walk in silently, stand in a corner, and not say nothing, and you're questioning them. Okay, just the same as you would if you was open carrying and you was allowed to be there. It's no different. Okay, a right is a right. If you got a right to go in there and open carry, and you're just standing in a corner quietly, do you expect people to come up to you and be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you here? You look suspicious. Do you have a license for that? Blah blah blah." You don't expect that, and neither should somebody that walks in with a camera. And again, I tell the public servants that I run into, we're not looking for one specific person. I'm not here to harass Betsy Joe. All right. I'm here to see everybody and see everything, because, we don't know who's taking money out of the till. There was a county treasurer, a city treasurer up there in Illinois for 25 years. She made off with $53 million from this town. You know what I mean? Made off with $53 million. Now she's doing 20 years and she's got to pay back all this money, which, they sold some of her stuff and it's not near, the amount of money that she stole. I mean, I don't even think they got half the money back that she stole, So that's a lot of money taken from the taxpayers, man.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. I'll bet on a smaller scale. I mean, that's pretty extreme, but she was the treasurer for like 40 odd years, 30 years. And nobody. She was little old. What's her name? So that's the problem. You can't trust government to question government. It's never going to happen. It's like asking the mafia to question the mafia.
I mean, they have the Omerta Code, that's all. Pretty sure the government has their own thing like that.
Right, absolutely. And of course they keep it, compartmentalized. So sometimes, it's not like all police are bad or all government people are bad. A lot of people in government have no clue the fraud that the government is perpetrating on the citizens, because they're compartmentalized, and we've all grown up with the schooling of government is great, rah, 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 we're number one, go get them, Tiger. And we all want to feel like we're making an effort to do something good, and that's why people get into government a lot of times, But on the other hand, people also realize that people in government kind of get to do what they want, and, get to play with other people's money all day. So, there's opportunities to get a little sticky fingers there. And, the amount of money that the government goes through, there's ample opportunity to suck hundreds of thousands a year off of them and never get caught.
That reminds me of what happened
Like the
in
defense
Malaysia.
contractor.
In Malaysia, there was something called I believe it was called the One Malaysia Fund or whatever. It was something like that. And basically, what that was is that the fund was mainly that of a public service, taxpayer funded social program that was meant to boost the economy of Malaysia. But what ended up happening was that the money that was meant to be used to help fund um, financial centers, help fund medical programs, things like that. It ended up going into the hands of their previous prime minister, and as a result, the country of Malaysia went into debt, and many of the people there either lost their position, and it led to, of course, the prime minister of Malaysia being exiled, not exiled, losing his position and having another prime minister coming in through a election. I've also read that somehow Goldman Sachs got themselves involved with this because of the whole of the money that's being made through the program or whatever. I mean, I can't remember the exact details, but it was some crazy shit, some really crazy shit that happened years ago.
I'm sure of that. I mean, Goldman Sachs is, part of the banking industry, which, it just amazes me. The fraud that's perpetrated alone on the banking system that the people aren't aware of, and the lack of understanding has crippled us. It really has.
Yeah, especially since like you have I've read how you got these two institutions called Freddie Mac and Sally Mae, and they are basically handing out home mortgages that pretty much function like subprime mortgages. And keep in mind, Sally Mae, and Freddie Mac, they're both are owned by the federal government, and how like both of these organizations, as far as I know, they're in deep shit because since they're practically selling what are essentially subprime loans, and that we're in the middle of this pandemic, at within a year or two, a lot of people are going to be losing their homes. Y'all there?
Yeah, I've heard about that. Um, I follow some of the economics talk, and they were talking about another housing collapse coming possibly. So I mean, there's with this coronavirus thing, people are like, hey, let's get back to work, yada yada yada. But the supply line has been down for a while, and it takes a little bit to jack the system back up to speed. Um, so I think there's again an economic impact that we haven't seen yet that we're going to experience here in a little bit, especially as more people stay unemployed or underemployed. Um, and the reason I say that is because everybody's got some reserves. Everybody's got a little food. maybe they can borrow something from the neighbor, cup of sugar, stuff like that. But I think, the riots in Indy, or the protests, I should say, are indicative of citizens that are pretty much stretched thin because of this quarantine. I know in some areas, I think I even heard that they're locked down for 3 more months. I don't know how true that is. I haven't done the proper amount of research on it, but it was something I did hear. I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on with, the second wave. Supposedly, we're going to experience a second wave, and we'll see. It's up in the air right now.
If the food shortages get worse during this time, it's only going to worsen the situation when it comes to the lockdowns and shutdowns, whatever. Like in New York, it's pretty bad. Like they're shutting down protests. Like the government's ordering people in New York City to not do any protests, and how like that's basically violating their First Amendment right, and how they're arresting people who are just walking out in parks, spending time with their children, horrible shit like that.
Yeah, did you guys see the protest they did in front of the cop's house that arrested the lady at the park?
Hmm.
There was a video online.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, people are getting fed up with this stuff. There was a video also by a cop. I think everybody's seen that video. It was yesterday or the day before, where the cop was talking about, seeing cops online enforcing unconstitutional orders. Um, and here's the thing. When you're in a position like that, they did a study back in the 60s. I can't remember the name of the study right now, but I'm sure people will know what I'm talking about. But they did this study where this person would come in, and they'd agree to answer questions and get zapped if they answered wrong. Okay, and the person that was supposed to be zapped, they never really got zapped, but the person that was doing the zapping wasn't in on the gig. Okay, so what would happen is if the person doing the zapping got the okay from the person in charge, they would electrocute to death the person like 60% of the time. You know, what they found out is that if a person in authority gives you the okay, and says they'll take credit, not credit, but if there's anything bad to come down, they'll take responsibility for it. Like 60% of the time, those guys are going to pull the trigger. Say 60% of the population. So I mean, those are interesting numbers, and those are interesting things that we have to understand when we deal with these people. They're okay enforcing unconstitutional orders. A lot of times they don't even realize it's an unconstitutional order because people's understanding of the Constitution is so skewed. Um, so it's more than a document that you can look at in high school and read about in the Federalist Papers and think you've come to a complete understanding of the feelings of the time, the reasoning and the intent of why certain things were added into there. And then you'll understand, the difference between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution, and who fought for what, and you can honestly say that the mainstream media wrote the Constitution and the founders wrote the Articles of Confederation. And if you look at the two documents side by side, you'll realize why. Because in the Articles of Confederation, the federal government didn't have anywhere near the power that it does today. and the Constitution was written. It's like a trap door. There's good stuff in it, but there's doors that they can wiggle through, that they have wiggled through in order to pass a lot of the laws that we have today. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth all of our time that we can dedicate to learning to learn about the very foundation of our society, and why things don't line up with what we've been taught and what we see in front of us now, because there's some obvious discrepancies there, that we can't just shoo away anymore and say, well, maybe this or maybe that. We gotta have a firm understanding of what it was we were meant to be, I guess you could say, and what we ended up here today as. Um, but a lot of people, they don't care. They'll just go by their feelings and their emotions and their beliefs of having enough knowledge, because they learned about it in high school, and they read a book or two, whatever, the Federalist Papers, maybe the Anti-Federalist Papers if they're lucky. Um, but there's so much more that's out there on the subject, from different perspectives and different viewpoints. And when you take it all together, you throw in some common sense and some logic, and you can see why we are where we are here today, and why we're not in the paradise that we should have been in. And not to say a paradise like a socialist workers paradise, but I mean the innovation and such that would have come from a country that tax on its income, on the citizens' income, I see be phenomenal. Um, some of the best minds would immediately flock to such a place where you could, create and not fear losing, half your money for your creation, through taxation, to basically get harassed on your way home in your Ferrari. You know, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you do. You come here, you invent something great, you get taxed half on it. They use that money to pull you over on your Ferrari every time you drive home at night because you're going a little bit over the speed limit. And you're in a hot red Ferrari because you actually invented something. You run a company or something. You know what I mean? So they're like, yeah, this sucker could pay a couple of card bills, tickets. All right, we got any more questions from the chat, or does anybody else got a topic they want to reach up on?
Well, I'm just glad that Florida's reopening.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought this was an over response to something that wasn't, from what I could see, very, I don't want to say traumatizing, but very traumatizing. I mean, obviously people died, but I heard the government was shutting down and stuff was shutting down. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to wipe out 25%, 50% of the population. And then they come back with like 2 or 3%. And I'm like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Because I realized, man, you're flirting with killing the economy. And that would that would affect a lot more people down the line, I would imagine, not just here in the States, but worldwide. How much does the world, rely on the American economy,
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a shame because, like, when it comes to people losing their jobs, that has got to be the worst psychological pain anybody could go through because their stability, their livelihood, their career, and their sense of self even is wiped away because of something that's way beyond their control. And I understand why people are out there protesting. And to all the people who are just saying that, oh, they're just privileged, oh, this and that, they don't understand how important it is to have an open economy. It's not just Wall Street and bankers, it's a link between the businessman, um, grocery stores, basically a tether between consumers and sellers, vendors, things like that, that keeps things going, that keeps money going, that keeps people flourishing. And when you suppress that, it's difficult for people to not only just live their daily lives, but as we're seeing right now, it's difficult for people to fulfill their basic life needs like food and utility.
Right. All right. We see any questions or comments that we need to get to here? I see they're talking about the Supreme Court is supported by the Constitution. Uh, it is supported, by the Constitution. Um, but again, you got to read into the Constitution. It's a legalese document, as all legal documents are. So some words that have specific meaning to their time and place. So you can't use a legal dictionary today to look up a term that they used in 1787. You got to find a legal dictionary from back in that day, and that's what they obviously meant, because obviously they didn't have the dictionary that we have today. They have the dictionary that they would have had in that time frame. That's the understanding they would have had, because over time, words and legal matters have changed their meaning. And, over time, people forget. People forgot that licensing on vehicles is only done for, chauffeurs and taxi drivers and people like that when they first started. And then it moved into, licensing everybody. And, they switched some words around here and there. And all of a sudden, they've got an entity that they can tax, and nobody's the wiser. And fraud perpetrated against the American people. But, we have a herd mentality, so we buy the herd response, and that's what we go with. Everybody else, you know, thinking outside the box is dismissed.
Does anybody have questions for me and what I do?
No, looks like everybody's good.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for coming out tonight, Project Hayes, and we're always here on Thursdays, Saturday nights. We do the Saturday night bang, just like in high school. When kids and all we could do was go out on Saturday night because the rest of the nights were school nights. So fun times.
Yeah.
But we discuss current events and stuff within the First Amendment movement and other such things, such as predator poaching as well. But I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I don't have anything else to add unless News Now South Florida or Eyes on the State has something. I'm going to say that we're going to wrap it up.
Agreed. Thank everybody for coming out tonight. Appreciate.
And don't forget, guys, on Saturday, we're doing the junk science law I believe Gladiator's doing that this Saturday. Is that right, Eyes?
I believe so. Yes, and that's
All
at
right.
9 o'clock.
Yep, 9 o'clock. So we'll be doing that junk science law discussion Saturday night, and see what we can get in the mix. See what else is popping off in the next couple of days.
Yeah,
All right.
Thank you
thanks
guys for
everybody
having
for
me
joining
on
us
here.
tonight. We really appreciate everyone's support. We know that everyone's got lives and busy times, and popping in for an hour, hour and a half, and saying hi to us. We really love to see all of you guys, and we really like to have our finger on
I
the
hope you
pulse of what
I
you
hope you
guys are all
guys
doing.
have
So
a
thank
great
you.
night. See y'all later.
Thank you, Hayes.
Yes, thank you. All right, have a good evening, everybody.
So yeah, as I was saying, we like you guys all popping in and being a part of our group and our chats and hanging out and telling us what you all think and sharing your feelings with us. So thanks so much.
Amen to that, brother. Thanks everybody for being out there and watching, and for passing the word along, because we can only grow, and from that we can only expose more and get stronger. So, all right, guys, have a good night. We'll see you on Saturday.
Talk to y'all later.
And
Have
I
a
know
good
everyone's jealous that I've been sitting at the bar this whole time.
night.